Right, welcome back to the floating logo sign tutorial. This is part 4 for exporting the file from Fusion 360. And we'll go through. So our first step in Fusion 360 is going to be to assign appearances. And this is more for reference, as well as whenever we go over to Blender to do the rendering, which will be the last part of this tutorial series. But I still think it's useful, and it helps, again, give you a reference for whenever you're actually assigning the colors in Bambu Studio. So we've got our model here, and we are going to hit A for appearance. It will deactivate the component cycling coloring. And you can see I've made a bunch of just kind of regular colors down here. You could do the same. Basically, it's just got all the main colors. It does not have to be the correct hex code or anything like that. It's more to get you close, and the title of it will transfer into Blender for the rendering as well. So just using the vectorizer conversion that I have open on the other screen for reference, I will just start assigning the colors for this logo. So let's see, we've got a dark green, and I am going to assign that. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring the color over to the component, and that way if there's multiple bodies within that component, it will color all of them. All we're doing is we'll start with the first one, so we'll go tan. Let's see, I've got a beige here, that'll work. We just did green, we'll go to red. Drag red onto red. Yellow. Yellow to yellow. White to white. And then the base and the kickstand is completely up to you. Whatever you feel like you think will look best, go for it. So I think for this one, I'll do the dark green for the base. I like to do color for the base and then have kind of a highlight color for the kickstand. In this case, maybe you could do red or yellow. I think yellow will look nice. Again, this is another reason that this is very helpful, is it helps visualize some of these. When you get out of the appearance, it's going to reactivate the component cycling color. So Shift N in November to get out of that and see your appearances. We can kick this kickstand out. And actually not loving the yellow, but again, this is your chance to make whatever decisions that you want to make. I'm gonna go with the beige. Yeah, I like the beige a lot better. I think the beige, or even just going with the green again to have it a little more subdued, would look nice, but I think overall that looks pretty good. So we'll close out of this, and we're good to go. Now we can go a little trick for exporting for 3D printing. Whatever you have, I'm not going to export this TPU insert and the standoff, just because, again, when I print these, I generally print a whole plate full of these inserts. That way you just have to do it once, then you've got a bunch of them for however many of these signs you want to make. And then again, I use the acrylic rods. I think it looks much better than the printed rods, but if you can export the rest of the stuff, then you'll have no problem, following these tutorials and export these as well. So anything that you have hidden on your browser over here will not export when you click export. So I've got those hidden. I want everything else to be exported and sent over to Bambu Studio. We are going to right click on the top parent component, in this case tutorial version 3, and we will save as mesh. STL binary is good, millimeters is what you want. I always have the refinement to high, and I have it sent directly to Bambu Studios. The first time that you do this, you'll have to, if you select this send to 3D print utility under custom here, you'll have to select your slicer. Just go through the Windows Explorer and select whatever slicer that you're using. Again, I'm going to be using Bambu Studio here, but that is a fork of Prusa Slicer. So loads of other printers may have the same style slicer. Hit OK. And that will open the file up in Bambu Studio, which we will jump over to now. Okay, this is what it looks like when it comes into Bambu Studio. First step is to make sure if you do have, multiple printers. I have a few different printers with different setups, or if you have different printers set up for presets here, select the one that you want to do. I always print these at a 0.4 nozzle, and I always print them at a 0.2 millimeter height. The only global setting that I'll change is the infill. Always go with probably a cubic or gyroid. I'm not team grid. I have had issues with grid in the past, so I try to avoid it as much as I can. So we'll go cubic. And then we are going to select this entire item. As you can see, it came in as one object. We are going to go to split to parts. This will still keep it as one object, but you will be able to go through here and select each part to assign the colors, and then we'll split it to objects so that we can put them on different plates. But before we get to assigning colors, we need to pick whatever colors we're going to use. Again, I have Fusion 360 open on my other monitor, so I have a good reference. So white is perfect here, and this is good too if you're printing any of these colors in PETG or ASA, any other type of filament. You can go ahead and select those. All of mine is going to be Bambu PLA. White. All the colors we've got white, we've got yellow, we have red. Always start from the first one, because if you have more filaments than you need, or if you need to add filaments, it's going to add and subtract from the last. So start from the beginning. Let's see, we have 10. I think that looks fine. It doesn't have to match perfectly. And I believe that's it. So we will subtract and subtract. And those, green, the actual main color. Select that there. Okay, so now whenever we go through these individual objects, it will select that part, and you can just hit the number on the keyboard that is associated with this color. So for our case, this base is going to be green, so we'll select 5, and then we'll go through the rest and select exactly what we set up in Fusion. Okay, that looks good. Everything is how it should be. The next step is we are going to lay this on its face. So we'll select this again. We'll go to lay on face, and you always want to lay it on the uppermost face so that everything is in line when it lays down, which we know the yellow and the white are the highest faces, and they are on the same plane. We just designed this. So we will click that face, and it will lay it down. At this point, we can split everything to objects since it's colored. Again, that's the easiest way to color them. You can do this in another order, but I found that that's the most efficient way of doing it. So we'll split to objects. Now, basically all that did was just stack everything on top of each other. We are going to create a few different plates. Select off of the object and select back on it. Now that they are separated, you'll be able to drag each individual object where it needs to go. And from here, all you're going to do is drag the color to its own plate. So every plate is going to be dedicated to a color as long as you can fit it. This one came in at an angle because when we exported it from Fusion, we had the kickstand out. That's no problem. Click on this, do lay on face. Remember, we don't want to lay it on this face because then we'll have this floating surface here, which will require supports. So if we lay it on that face, then there's that surface and still no supports required. And on each plate, you can do the align objects here. And then sometimes you'll be able to get lucky and you'll be able to fit the base and the other component, which I think we are going to get lucky on this one. So obviously you got to keep in mind, whatever purge strips your printer has, whatever settings that you have, you can move this around as necessary. But this is going to work. And for yellow, you can take both parts and just hold control, select both, bring them down. And looks like we need to add one more plate for the white part. There we go. So now the entire point of all of this is so that every forward-facing item in this design is going to take whatever texture plate you have. I definitely prefer the textured PEI plate. It hides any inconsistency and gives it a really, really nice high-end texture. But you can absolutely switch out the textured plate for the carbon fiber plate or any of those other design plates, the sparkle plates. I've seen a bunch of people make different designs of mine and using, the carbon fiber or the sparkle plate on just the base and then everything else the textured, which I think looks really cool. So feel free to experiment and figure out what looks best for you. After that, all it is you're just going to select the plate. You're going to click on the plate that you want to print, and you'll go to slice plate. Again, you can see that this one is going to take 11 minutes to print, and you'll go to print plate. Then after that, you can come back to prepare, and you can go through and you can print all of these plates. And once everything is printed, again, no supports. There won't be any supports on any of these. So once they're all printed, you are good to go with assembly. But I think this is a really good setup here because you can easily change. If you wanted to do a custom sign for someone, I've done some custom signs for people that, maybe their kids want a certain team, but they want it to be in their colors, their favorite colors. So you can go through and you can change whatever colors, whatever components of the logo to your heart's desire and make really whatever you want. And if you want to save this file to share or just reuse so that you have it ready to go, you don't have to go through this entire process again. Or if you want to share it on MakerWorld or email it to someone, you can go up here to file and then you can save project as, and it will save the project as whatever. Make sure you save it as a 3MF file. And then whenever you go to open this, it will open exactly like this in any instance of Bambu Studio. Now, one more tip, if you're printing any of the thicker pieces in lighter color material, you can adjust the amount of layers on the bottom face. This will prevent any infill from being seen if there's any light shining directly on it. You could select the component that you want to add the layers to, and you can come over here to the objects. Don't do it globally. If you do it globally, it'll change it for all of these, which may not be a big deal, but if you want to just do it for one or two, you can select this part, go to objects, and you can come over here to strength and bottom shell layers. And you can put that up to 5 or so, especially if you're using white and you have a less dense infill, you will definitely be able to see that. This one I'm not completely worried about because most of this tan If that's going to shine through, most of it is going to be covered by this green piece anyway. So not really worried about it, but just thought I'd throw it in there. And that's all I have today. So enjoy a very quick time lapse and some photos of the final product. And if anyone is interested in Minnesota Wild, or just like the way that this thing looks, or has friends or family that are fans, comment below, and I will pick from one of the comments below, and I will send it over to you, no charge. So thank you for joining. Again, like and subscribe if you've learned anything. I will continue to do more Fusion 360, 3D printing, woodworking, a little bit of everything. So thank you again for joining.